All right, back again. I want to talk about something that I don't really see really broken down too much, and that is the difference between magical thinking and um, I want to say belief-based creative thinking, right? Where you might have seen stuff with the secret of talking about, different books and whatnot, talk about visualizing what you want and all of that. So, what is the key factors in differentiating those two? Because we understand that narcissists have that trait, at least in them, called magical thinking. So, some people get confused or stuck, trying to differentiate the two. So I'm going to give a little bit of insight. We're going to break down a concept that silently blocks progress for thousands of people, especially if you're chasing purpose and if you're trying to grow spiritually or whatever it may be, or elevate your relationships, your finances, your health. It's the conflict between magical thinking and belief based creative thinking, right? And they may sound similar, but they produce very different outcomes. If you've ever visualized success but stayed stuck, or you affirmed love but still felt abandoned, you're going to want to listen to this. I'm going to do my best to get the message to sequence with you. So, what is magical thinking, first of all, right? We got to look at that. So, the exact definition, magical thinking is the mistaken belief that your thoughts, feelings, or personal rituals can control reality without logical steps. Again, without logical steps, strategy, or real world alignment. This is basically a form of what we would call wishful thinking. All right? It totally ignores responsibility. And it's often seen in children or adults dealing with unprocessed trauma, anxiety, or even personality disorders like narcissistic personality disorder, and borderlines too, because we don't really talk about borderlines. Borderlines have the same magical thinking. So, what signs you may have seen when you were with a narcissist to show that they had magical thinking? Well, I would say it kind of goes like this. In their minds, they'll think this way, right? Some examples. If I visualize money hard enough, I'll wake up rich. And they believe that. If I only, if I think only positive thoughts, nothing bad can happen. If I light a candle but take no real action, love will find me. I wore these shoes today. The last time I succeeded, so they must be my good luck. Right? And the root cause of all of this is from childhood emotional neglect or chaos within the environment that the child grew up in. These are trauma based coping strategies, fear of taking action or responsibility, emotional immaturity, at least, or spiritual bypassing, right? And the end result, it produces a bunch of unstable results, disillusionment, broken cycles that repeat, and the constant feeling of being almost there but never quite arriving. That's where it comes from. So when we look at it and we go to the other side, what is belief based creative thinking, right? The definition of that means that Belief-based creative thinking is the process of assuming your desired outcome as if it's already real, and then living in the alignment with that assumption through focused thought and grounded emotions and strategy and inspired actions. That's not a delusion at that point, right? It's the thing where many of us may be familiar with what is called faith, a faith structure, right? And the signs that here's one of the signs of when you're walking and thinking in that way. Examples, you may say, I carry myself like someone who already has success. Because I believe I'm loved, I stop entertaining people who don't treat me accordingly. I visualize abundance, and then I organize my budget, my time, my mindset, whatever, as someone who already has wealth, right? I speak healing over my body, and I take steps to match that belief, right? So the root sources in this type of thinking is mature emotional awareness. You have a deep connection between thought, belief, and behavior, right? Faith rooted in vision and grounded in action. Clarity about your values, your desires, and daily discipline. So the end result, it creates tangible growth, breakthroughs, peace of mind, and a track record of all results that reinforce confidence in a person. All right. So magical thinking, basically, folks, what I'm saying, magical thinking is fantasy. The foundation of it is fantasy and escapism, where belief-based creative thinking is vision, intention, and action. There's a difference. Magical thinking is primarily rooted in fear, heavy emotion, and superstition. Where on the other side, the belief-based creativity thinking is mental clarity and emotionally mature, or emotional maturity, right? Magical thinking, again, when we look at the action-oriented aspect of it, there's none, no minimum action or anything. It's all in the head. That's why when they say narcissists live in their heads, that's their playground. Where the belief-based creative thinking is inspired, it aligns, and it has consistent action towards what it is believing or thinking, right? When we look at the controlling of the outcome, delusional expectations is what magical thinking produces. Whereas creative thinking, you trust in a higher outcome through effort, right? The results for them, why they stay frustrated and constantly disappointed, because magical thinking produces disappointment and chaos, where creative-based thinking aligns and it elevates closer towards manifestation. It's a major difference. One is just living in the head, content with being in the escapism, right? And they get carried away in this escapism type of feeling, to where when everything starts to pressure them, boom, they run. You don't have to have responsibility or action in magical thinking. Everything you want is in that world in your head. Where creative based thinking, there has to be action, there has to be accountability, there has to be intention. which makes you align with what you want, which means there's work to do still, right? Even though it's still based off of thinking, one calls for you to have to put in the work, even though it may not be seen or fully manifested yet. You have to act as though and trust. Narcissists don't have the discipline to do that. They need instant gratification, which pulls them away from that type of thinking and leaves them stuck in the magical thinking process. So just to close this thought, just here's the truth, bottom line. Most people, especially narcissists, they're out here hoping for miracles while avoiding that maturity, right? They're doing all these other things, but refusing to change their attitudes, their mindsets, their habits that doesn't properly serve them well. They're speaking affirmations but living in contradictions. They're still fearful deep down inside. They're still they lack confidence. They have they're not solidly grounded in a certain conviction of what they want is going to happen, right? You can't just dream. You have to become. Belief-based creation isn't about hoping. It's about aligning your frequency, your actions, and your mindset to the outcomes as if they were already yours. You're not waiting for proof. You become the proof. All right? So, I'm going to leave it there. If this hit home, you got something out of it, it resonated with you, you understand the difference between magical thinking and belief-based creative thinking, leave a thumbs up, hit the like. Any one-on-one consultations, you know how to get a hold of me. All my information for my email is in the description box. Shoot me an email. And until next time, folks, have a good one. Stay grounded.